what I think should happen in this game already, just looking at the picks, is Escape Gaming should push the pace as much as they possibly can, because you are correct. When it comes to the late game, it's not about potential output of damage, it's what you can actually do in teamfights. Like, what do you have to set up to actually get that damage out there? Like, in a vacuum, a hero like Spectre is going to be ideal in late game, but you also need some lockdown to pair with it. Right now, for Escape Gaming, neither of the supports really have hard lockdown. You have heroes on Execration that easily go 4-step in both the Invoker and the Slardar, so you're really left to that Batrider being your strong initiator.
Right.
I should have seen that one.
We could even see that counter. I was just about to say we could see that counter by a defensive style hero such as the Oracle, in which case, if your only initiation is so easily taken out, then Escape really have to go kind of all in. Now, Execration actually banned away the Tinker, and they immediately go for the Bane as our setup to go with the Mirana. So Bane Mirana as a dual lane scenario, with the Mirana being the farmer, Earth Spirit kind of roaming around, Invoker mid, Slardar off lane. Is that the lanes that we're going to see from Execration?
Yeah, I could see that.
10 seconds.
I'm just trying to think right now what Escape Gaming pick. Because I think for Escape, you just run it them. I think that's your best option right now, because a lot of the heroes from Execration rely on a decent amount of farm, especially the Slardar. And if Escape can just kind of get going with the Healing Ward, I think it's very hard to stop that. It's a very Wings/newbie-esque concept.
Okay, now we've seen a lot of the Queen of Pain. I'm not a big fan of it here. There's just so many heroes of Execration that would be good against Queen of Pain. But is that the kind of hero that you're thinking about, like really tempo focused, or do you still want to see a bit of scaling
10 seconds
and more of a semi-carry style mid?
I kind of want a tower hitter.
Okay.
Unless you're going to put Juggernaut mid.
Tiny. Hey. So Juggernaut mid instead? Safe lane Tiny?
I actually... This should be fairly obvious going in, just because the Jug mid is very good against the Earth Spirit. It's really hard for Earth Spirits to gap close against that hero. The downside is that as a pressure point, Jug does kind of okay against Invoker, will help with the Riki. But at the same time, Tiny was a little bit of a surprise. But it is Era. Kind of like when you watch Era or Limp in game, you always know that on the solo Tiny without the Wisp.
Right. I mean, Escape, I feel like they've adjusted their picks to make them a bit more comfortable to individual players' style. So, such as drafting things for Koifa, like Queen of Pain and Storm Spirit, heroes that are not necessarily in vogue right now, but are definitely hand in hand with Koifa's previous legacy as a Dota 2 player.
I sort of think Jug is the new Queen of Pain, in the sense that all the mid laners like playing it because it's a damage dealer that you can do a lot of cool plays with. Just with spin, it makes it very hard for you to die. It's got a relatively decent high skill cap. It can scale into the late game. He's the ideal new Queen of Pain, because that's what Queen of Pain served as a function before. But he's a lot more safe than Chio is. And more importantly, Healing Ward, I think, is the true ability of this hero, just because you can push behind it very easily. You can do Roshan with it. There's a lot of different options. Post team fight, it's like a heart for your entire team. Incredibly invaluable.
Right. Well, we're already seeing the Riki being put to use. He was able to get some very early information by TPing out. He managed to see the Slardar place the Observer Ward, and is now going to give Era
solo
a very
XP
nice start. Gonna give it, well, okay, he actually shared it, but still, he got the 100 gold.
12 XP split.
30 seconds to battle.
I mean, if Era's going to have a problem with the 12 experience being taken away from them, I think you have bigger problems as a team.
I would complain as a core, honestly.
I know you would.
That would
but,
bother me.
You know, that's why you're not playing in the internet.
That's like one of those things. Yeah, that's the only thing that's holding me back.
You guys should see what Blitz does when you take his bounty room.
All right,
it's not pretty.
Dude, Pyrian has this game where he just he tells you he's gonna click faster than you on top of it. It's so frustrating.
All right, we're going to have a perfect split here of the bounty runes. No attempt at interruption from either offlaner. We are going to have Kezu here as our offlane Batrider. Up at the top lane, he is not going to be going Iron Talon first like we saw at Swindlemon, so he may actually be trying to make his lane work a little bit, but I don't think you can, right? It's a Bane Mirana. That's like a kill lane if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, it's really hard to deal with up at top. But at the same time, he can just poke around. Decide after that.
Okay.
It's not like he's in that big of need so far as Yapzor is going to get spotted in this mid lane. Execration wins the sentry battle.
That is a big win for Abed. He's going to feel a lot safer. YapzOr obviously having to use his other counter there for the Observer Ward earlier. We are going to have our first sleep and arrow combination on Kezu, and that's going to be a long one too. Looks like he is very, very dead. They don't manage to give the first blood over to Abed, which would have been incredibly helpful. Both the experience as well as the extra gold. As you can see, he is once again feeling some harassment from YapzOr. Yeah,
it's like you said, it's a hard lane to be in. I thought for a second he was just going to poke and see that lane and say, okay, there's no reason for me to be up there, but at the same time...
Is there really that much of a threat of the Bane moving out of the lane or stacking and pulling? Like, is there really that much incentive to try and make this lane work if you're Kezu and keep the Bane essentially up there at the top lane?
Maybe he thought that the Bane was going to go bottom with the Slardar just because Tiny Dazzle isn't exactly the strongest lane early on. At the same time, you're completely right. It was very greedy for him to step up there anyways.
Well, we're going to see if he gets a little too greedy again as he TPs out the lane. While Abed dealing with YapzOr. Will be able to trade some harassment back and forth, but this is just freeing Koipa up for free last hits and some free denies as well. We're going to see Tims. He's going to try and make an entrance sometime soon, perhaps while YapzOr's a little bit too far forward. But other than that, it's just a harassment game. Bottom lane is RR on the Slardar. He's matching up against Synderen on the Dazzle, as well as Era on the Tiny. As you said, not the strongest lane in the world, and it's a lane that RR might actually be able to make work and get some decent experience and maybe a couple CS out of.
Slardar, more than anything on the lanes like this, it's kind of like Void where levels are great and all, but you really just want farm just because your Blink Dagger is so crucial to this hero.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a position where 40 minutes into the game, all you have is Blink and Trinkle Boots.
Do you believe he should have gotten Iron Talon and just automatically jungled, or is that too risky against a Riki?
I think it's a little bit risky, and more importantly than that, you want to keep the Dazzle in a position where he's harassing you, because otherwise Synderen would be probably level 2.5 for her already.
Ooh, Abed's actually in some serious trouble. He's going to be run down here. The Orb of Venom. Oh, a little bit of body block there. Koipa ended up running the wrong way. Doesn't get the full spin onto Abed, but looks like they're still going to try and run him down, but no. The slow comes in from Tims just in time, and Koipa is going to have to run the long way back around.
So close to getting that kill, and that would have been huge for them, as YapzOr is going to continue to try to go for this chase, but Earth Spirit does have that rolling boulder available to him, and now YapzOr dusted up.
He managed to get the smoke cloud off and will be able to dodge a bit of the damage. Abed had to back himself away, and Koipa comes to the rescue. YapzOr gives him a little bit of space to retreat.
The big thing about this bottom lane, like you were talking about though, is that the Slardar just keeps Synderen from being able to pull for himself and keeps him at a relatively low level, because that's what you want as a Dazzle more than anything. You just want levels.
Yeah, and he's still got 7 CS now. He is going to be gone on here, but unfortunately did manage to get off a Slithering Crush at the same time as the Avalanche, meaning he had enough space to get ahead of that toss.
Look at the difference right now. If you notice the Bane at top, this is the kind of game that Dazzle wants, where he's just continuously pulling. And if you just compare the level difference alone, he's already a full level ahead. And that's the difference. When you immediately go for the jungle, like Kezu eventually had to, he would have just done this a little bit sooner.
Jesus, that's CS in mid lane. Poor Abed, 11-1. While Koipa sitting at a very happy 15-7 denies. So they are really putting the hurt in. Plus, there's a little bit of stolen experience as well, as Tims is being forced mid. We have actually had a conversation about Invoker and the kind of timings he has. You don't really see the Invoker be hugely impactful in the mid game until he's got like kind of the Ags at level 16.
Alright.
YapzOr, that wasn't really a rune that's going to be hugely beneficial. It's actually picked up by Tims, and with this dust, he knows YapzOr's kind of done for. He just kind of sits there in the smoke screen, hoping that he would get a lot of miss percentage chances, but no such luck, and the second kill of the game goes over to Execration.
There's a difference between the Riki and the Earth Spirit in this scenario, just that when you play with the Earth Spirit, you want to get kills with this hero. Like, harassing is okay and all, but you want to be able to get some experience on this hero, whereas Ricky's completely comfortable just right-clicking away, and he's alright with that. Just because he's permanently invisible, it's easier for him to get off this harass, because you constantly have to fuel sentries into this mid lane.
Counter ward for counter ward once again, which does play to the favor of YapzOr. D continues to sneak lane and keep Abed down as much as possible. We've had a lot of talk about him on the panel. He seems to be the very clear star player of Execration, and to escape putting quite the premium on being able to shut him down. Now, top lane, we're going to have some action here. Yapzor is going to try and stay in front of the arrow, make sure there's no combo. Now, they are very slowed down as Nando had to leap himself forward. Kezu drops dangerously low. One more hit, that's all they need. The roll comes in, and finally, Tims will be able to get that right click. The rest of Execration back themselves away at half HP. Yapzor takes the opportunity as his fallen comrade to replace him and pick up whatever golden experience he can at that top lane.
Kezu is learning the hard way. Can't be in this lane. Every single time, this has such high kill potential with the Sunstrike, and you're just kind of feeding into what Execration wants out of this game.
Slardar, bit of trouble here. The toss is going to go out. He's going to take a lot of damage. They tried to get the max out Shadow Wave damage, but slight miscommunication there. Era backed up to dodge the crush. Meanwhile, Synderen is hoping just to be able to get that maxed out Shadow Wave bomb. Missed a bit of damage because of it.
And this Bane is just going to continue to pull, try to get levels. He's going to get a 6 at a reasonable time, which means that Tims can just kind of do what he wants. He'll eventually get the Tome of XP. Perfectly fine in that regard. And we were talking about Invoker briefly, just the pace of this hero. As when you first think about this hero, you think about all the spells that he can do, but that's in an ideal world. In actuality, this hero wants to split push and farm with Forge Spirits. You don't really have the best spells invoked out to get into huge team fights.
Right.
You're almost always just going to have, what, Forge Spirit plus Sunstrike? So you need your team to create space for this hero until he gets prerequisite items of Midas, plus the Aghanims, plus a defensive item in a game like this. And so you're not going to really see this hero fight very often, which is why I was pressing for Escape to draft a lineup which would let them push the pace. Because this hero just does not want to fight.
Yeah,
but
he wants the space, and right now Escape are actually smothering him as much as possible with the Riki in the laning phase. We'll see how they manage to transition into that 15-minute mark and whether or not they're able to push the pace of the game like you really want.
Yeah, the only downside so far for Escape has been this top lane, is that Kezu is still kind of playing around that area where he thinks to himself, well, can I get something out of this lane? Maybe I can deny this tower, but it's simply not worth it, and it's not a good trade.
Still going to have a Blink Dagger, it seems, about anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes. He's got 1,300 gold in the bank right now, so that is actually surprising, given his 2 deaths at the top lane and how dangerous that lane is inherently, but he's actually gotten some CS. Blink Dagger, though, already up for Era, so he's going to try and get aggressive very early on, and this goes back to what you were talking about.
You have to push pace if you're Escape. You don't want to get initiated in a game like this. And if you look at Execration's lineup, it was very heavily lane focused because they kind of want to divert attention and slow down the timings from Escape. So a lot of this game is going to come down to how much Era can do with this Blink Dagger, and whenever Kezu decides to get his.
And now, how much does Era really put the focus on this bottom lane, though, and when does he start roaming out with this very early Blink Dagger pickup?
I think it's a decent idea to pick up maybe your level 7 or your level 8, then start moving around.
Yeah, to at least have the max combo that you can do.
Yeah, maybe even ganking mid. That might be a little bit too obvious.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nando's going to be kill-worthy, just because he does have 1,000 HP with that point booster. He's trying to set up for that arrow combo up at top. And maybe with the Sunstrike they could do this.
He decides instead to just go for the close range Star Storing. Get some CS out of it. Yapzor. He's going to head to this bottom lane. They know the Earth Spirit is behind, and this is why they need the extra hero to be able to make sure they can pop RR in time. They get the silence out. Now he managed to get off the crush, and he gets out of the smoke screen. The invis goes down. That Rider goes down to the top lane, but they get the dunk. The long toss comes in from Arab. Still up at the top lane, though. Nando will be managed to complete the TP. Koitpa not able to finish him off there. Couldn't find him with the rest of the spin damage.
Hey, Yapzor's gonna get caught out though by the grip. The Sunstrike's gonna finish him off for sure.
That is absolutely needed. Abed, it's a bit of a comeback there. He's gonna need a lot more of those Sunstrike kills though to even out with Koitpa's Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's the early level 6 that we were talking about. When the Bat Rider leaves the lane, that's what he was originally trying to prevent by keeping the Bane in the lane, but after that first death, he thinks to himself, okay, there's no reason for it, and the Bane's going to get levels anyways.
Yeah, if anything, he may have actually sped up the Bane's progress and levels simply because of those deaths.
Right now, what you're seeing is Execration is just kind of shuffling Gape around. They're not really trying to go for any objectives, which is normally what you see. They're just trying to get these solo pickoffs to buy time for their Invoker as much as possible.
The roll in, Synderen, maybe victim to a kip here from Tims. There it is, the arrow's going to come out, nails him too. couldn't get the Sunstrike kill because Cinderin just died too quickly. Era
committed the...
Ooh, that is a blink hit. It couldn't actually kill Tims, and now he's maybe paying the ultimate price. They don't have the arrow, but they're going to try and go for the Starstorm here. Up in a second, but the toss back is there first. Era does manage to dodge the incoming damage.
Tim's not willing to sacrifice his life. That's not a team player. Just going for the roll, go for the slow.
Tims decides that his own life is worth more than an attempted kill on Era. May have been the right choice, but we'll have to see as mid lane. RR is still trying to make his way towards his Blink Dagger. We are going to see that initiating item be picked up by Kezu first. That's kind of expected though. Batrider obviously able to take full advantage of jungle. Slardar not really having that same option.
Yeah, Ricky's just going to soak XP here, as Cinder is also going to soak. And now the Slardar are going to continue to try to farm his Blink, but some time away as Kezu's about to pick up his, and I think that's going to signal the shift in momentum, at least a little bit. Escape are going to get as aggressive as possible with this double Blink setup, especially with kind of a defensive mid hero like this Jug. Yeah. You want to start running at people with the healing ward.
Now Execration, they've been playing very aggressive themselves. They moved that safe lane completely out and put pressure on the bottom lane. They obviously went for that a bit of a gank, and now they're actually just sitting themselves in this bottom lane, trying to take out the safe lane tower and open up that Radiant jungle a bit more. Escape are actually not going to go for the contest despite having the double blink. They are trying to put pressure elsewhere, pushing in both mid as well as the top lane.
I think that's one of the greatest mistakes of playing Dota at random levels, is just these safe lane towers don't really matter that much. Like, they don't make that big of a difference. Although Koikba is going to get gone on the top.
He still has the Omni Slash, but there are so many heroes here. He's not going to be able to get a turnaround, that's for sure. He gets the spin off. He beats out. There is no bash leveled there from RR, so no opportunity to be able to get away. Meanwhile, they do see Abed behind this tower. Era, he's trying to deal with Force Spirits right now, because once he can get rid of those, he'll have his Blink Dagger on cooldown. They can make that jump, but Kezu's going to jump first. They grab Abed, and will be able to pop him. RR, the rest of Execration, though, are on their way. Managed to get one in, won't be able to get the deny on the
Escape
tower.
should go for this again.
And now, yeah, Era, he sees the opportunity. He's going to try and go for the quick kill. He actually tossed him to Kezu, but Kezu blinked forward as well, and that is not the combination they were looking forward to. They thought they were going to bring Slardar back. The invade is going to be used here by Execration. Moonlight Shadow goes down just to make sure they can make their escape. Nando's going to come in from behind. He thinks that perhaps he can go for this kill, but they just dropped the counter ward. See Nando. Nando may have to use his limited mana to leap himself away.
They're going to get out of there, and you saw the danger of going for that top defense is because they went for that top tower defense. They couldn't protect the mid lane, which is what we're really going for. And I thought Execration was going to make the same trade Escape did, which is give up your safe lane tower. It doesn't mean anything in this greater context of the game, but this mid tower is going to mean a lot, especially for smoke attempts later on into the game. It just means that you have a straight path. Illusion. And you don't have to cut across up into the jungle and get around. It just saves a lot of time.
In which case, could we say that Abed's positioning, if the team is actually going to make that kind of full rotation up to the top lane and defend that tower, he can't really be showing himself in mid. He can't even sit on that tier 1 tower. Maybe it has to full-on jungle. Just because,
I really like this.
Yeah, an early Roshan attempt by Execration.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Completely agree. I think that Abed's play was okay if his team was going to be ready to defend that mid tower, but because they weren't, the main reason why that looks a little bit off. Because Execration, that top tower died, what, 10 seconds later? It didn't mean anything. Instead, they lost an Invoker in the tower mid for no reason. But
a small mistake, but an opportunity for Execration.
They gotta get out of here.
Oh no, they're not gonna be able to get this one, and now the toss in. Koikba gonna land straight on the Tim. Tim does his best to stop the progress of Escape, but they're gonna be able to get 1 and 2. Omni Slash up to the high ground, back down from Koikba's Era. Searches for more, managed to get the top under RR, takes him down. 3 heroes gone from Execration, and a very low Roshan with amplified damage on it. Escape will try and take that one, but thank you very much. But RR, he's already bought back, and he is going to try and make sure that Escape cannot take that free Aegis for themselves. Execration still need another 10 seconds though, and Era, he may have just found the opening to be able to grab Abed to get the spin over the top as well, and a quick smack to the face, and Era takes out the Grand Magus. Now Execration are once again left with a 4 versus 5 scenario, but still holding on to that Roshan, putting everything they have to make sure that Escape can't grab this Aegis for themselves. Perhaps too much of a tempo swing. They don't want to let this go into their hands. The arrow goes down, not going to land. Meanwhile, the initiation comes out once again from Escape. They get a dome onto the Bane, and they're going to look for more. The counter ward gets laid out. Moonlight Shadow, Nando thought he was invis, thought he wasn't being seen as he tried to sneak his way in. Actually gets spotted, but still managed to get the leap out. RR bounce back, and will be taking a lot of damage from the flame break, but it's not quite enough. Gets himself away. Era actually gets taken out with a double damage damage with Nando right in the middle of a sea of Escape Gaming members. Will fall, and Tim's couldn't make the escape either. Pops his ultimate, tries to get what damage he can, but Execration was defending Roshan really worth all this mess?
Definitely not, and I think there was a serious lack of communication there because the starter immediately bought back, but you saw that the Miranda made no commitment to go down to that area. She even goes to that top room before. They could have just waited for him to revive, and they would have had enough time, but that starter is now massively far behind. He's level 6 at 15 minutes into the game, used up a good amount of his gold just to be able to go for the buyback, and when you commit that early buyback, you expect to win that ensuing fight, but instead they lose multiple heroes, they commit the buyback, and more importantly, they don't get any space on the map. Like, Escape is okay with what just happened. You just recommit to the Roshan at a later time because they have the healing ward, and Execration can't really.
A 4,000 or 5,000 gold swing over the last 4 or 5 minutes. That is an insanely large number for how early on in the game we are, and it make it even worse. Execration are going to go for round 2 here of smoke and attempt to go for Roshan. Now, they're not going straight to the Roshan pit. They're going to wrap around, go through the Radiant jungle, and see what they clash with. But Escape are actually ready for them. This is all about the Blink Daggers. Arcane Room managed to get the Blink out ahead of Tim. Tim still managed to get a good kick and a silence combination, but they're stopping his smoke cloud. Now the Gobby Slice goes down, and what is done? Avalanche, Nori on the mark. Kimmo's going to be taken out as well. Couldn't get the Fiend's Grip in. Koifa not going to be taken out as the Shalgrave comes out just in time. Sunstrike is on the mark, but Shalgrave is still there to save him. Execration, another defeat, and full-out retreat from the Southeast Asians as they're not going to be able to make it away. Nando, the only one to hide himself in the trees, has to take a timeout for 10 seconds while he waits for his TP scroll, but he may not even make it away. Nando managed to get the arrow onto Era, but Era, he survives through all of it, gets combo, and they wipe Execration 14-7. Not so long ago, it was 6-7. Blitz, what's happening?
Alright, so we talked about it when the draft ended. We said that there was no way that Execration was going to want to get into a straight-up 5-on-5 team fight. If you look at the spells that Abed has invoked, he had Torch Spirits plus Cold Snap, and you're not gonna win a fight with those kinds of abilities. Whereas the Juggernaut has that healing ward, he can spin, he gets his ultimate off. There's just so much more teamfight on the side of Escape. More importantly, there was that Arcane Rune Tiny which allowed him to just recycle that combo over and over again. And Execration, you can't fight around that Invoker like you can with that Juggernaut.
Absolutely not. We saw the effect of some of those spells. Tiny able to output so much more damage than our Invoker with his limited number of spells he can throw out. Abed does back away from the mid lane as Yapsor shows himself. He's level 9 as a Riki who for probably the first 8 minutes of the game didn't pass level 4, but all these team fights going the way of Escape has granted them a huge surplus of both gold and experience before the 20-minute marker.
This is very well done by Escape. We talked about how Execration was just trying to mess with them a little bit and throw them off and say, oh man, you guys can't win team fights, we're ahead in net worth. But Escape read their lineup very well. They say, okay, it doesn't matter what happened, even 3k behind, our team fight is just a lot better than yours. So despite the poor laning phase, they just run at Execration once they get both their Blink Daggers. And that smoke, to run into the smoke of Execration was beautiful by Escape, especially with the Arcane Rune picked up by the Tiny. They read their lineup very well. I think Execration, their inexperience showed here just a little bit.
Yeah.
That felt like an unnecessary move for me. It was just a little bit of a panic, especially with the buyback on the Slaughter. That to me speaks volumes about how that went. He probably just went for the buyback, didn't really look at the position of the game, because his Mirana was halfway across the map. And now they're in a position, Cap, where they can only safely really farm these two areas.
Meanwhile, Escape, they managed to put Execration in the hole. They're up in net worth, and that's only going to get worse and worse over time as we now have a Battle Fury for our Juggernaut. So the farming advantage very clearly in the favor of Escape, and they also have quite the late game advantage as well. So Escape, they push the tempo of this game. They've gotten themselves essentially the kind of early game and the kind of start to the mid game that they wanted, and now they've got plenty of options. They can continue to contest Execration if they want to. They can spend a little bit more time playing passive and farming away. Looks like Escape are not going to be touching the brakes one bit, though. They're going to continue to try and put a lot more heroes on this bottom right-hand side of the map, controlling that Roshan pit, making sure Execration do not get any big kind of objective to swing the tempo of this game.
Yeah, I think Escape, by the way, are just playing very well right now. We talked about where they could farm, right? As soon as I ping, I said, they can farm these two areas on the map. Escape immediately make the move over there because they realize when you're dire and you're pressured, those are the only two camps that you feel safe farming. And Escape just respond very well. As a result, they make sure that they can block those areas off.
Put 5 heroes there, and then what are you going to do as Execration? Well, you're naturally going to go onto the other side of your jungle. You're going to go to the top half of the map, but this just frees Escape to then, again, continue to put the pressure on you. They're going to push down this mid-tier 2 and say, Execration, you have to come and address us. You're going to have to go into yet another team fight, or else you're going to start losing more and more map control. And at that point in time, if they lose the mid-tier 2, if they lose the bottom tier 2, that Roshan pit is practically Escape's gaming for the taking.
Yeah, more importantly, it's that when you push Dire into their own jungle, you have no vision in that area. You're essentially just playing blind and kind of hoping that they're not in there. If Escape don't actually end up going for a straight 5-on push, I really like for them to grab an early gem at some point, just to further corral Execration into their base.
Yeah.
I think an early gem pickup in a game like this kind of just cements you the farm lead no matter what, if you can hold on to it for at least 4 or 5 minutes. Otherwise, I think you just push with this healing ward and make it incredibly hard for them to frontline.
Dire's middle tower.
That's exactly what they do for the mid lane, at least. We'll see how they develop their plan from here. Right now, Kezu is searching for the pick off of the top lane, knowing that if he can just get the Blink Lasso, he'll have the TPs in from his teammates to be able to follow that one up, and there it is. He found Tim's. He already has Aaron nearby, so that should be a fairly easy kill, as Aaron doesn't even need a whole lot of stun. He doesn't even throw out the avalanche. He just uses that armlet that he's got there and beats Tim down with his bare fist.
I think that was an okay play, though, from Execration. You give up your Earth Spirit to create a little bit of separation for Abed.
Oh, but Execration, they thought they were going to get aggressive at the bottom lane, but Yapzor, he's already spotted this one out. He's seen the Moonlight Shadow attempt, and now Koifa set up with the counter ward. He managed to get off the spin ahead of Kimmo's Beans Grip, and with the smoke screen being laid down, immediately cancels that ultimate and gets the free kill.
You're not going to make a lot of cool plays as a Dazzle, but that Sentry Ward was clutch by Sin. Like, that's the stuff you live for.
Yeah, and it all comes down to the information the Yapzor was able to get them. Once again, this 4-position Riki really coming through.
And Execration's trying to make something happen, but again, you're in a position where your Invoker just doesn't want to fight, and he can't. Like, Abed's doing the correct thing right now. He's responding by using the space that his team is making him to farm those 2 camps that we're talking about. The downside, though, is, again, Execration can't really contest this Roshan, and what's even scarier for them is if Escape just decide to go down the mid lane with the next healing ward cooldown, there's not a whole lot that they can do.
So Execration, oh, nice leap out there from Nando, just ahead of the avalanche. That surely would have gotten him killed if it managed to land. 16-7, 23 minutes in. Roshan is at just 4,000 HP. Escape are on the precipice of being able to get that Aegis into their hands. As you said, perhaps pressure the tier 2 bottom, or maybe even go high ground. They're playing this very safe, though. They're taking their time. They're making sure to spread themselves out, giving Execration no opportunities for a good initiation. Kezu even may actually look for the initiation himself. Again, they don't actually fully commit for Roshan. They leave it quite low. Now they found the initiation themselves. The blink in. Koifa managed to get the Omni Slash to take out the Beast Grip of Bane immediately. The Meteor goes down. Kezu's actually going to be taking a lot of damage from that one, but Shallow Grave comes in just in time. Cindering on the stage. Tim getting spun on. Koifa's going to try and chase him down. Goes through the trees, but a quick crit plays a quick end to Tim's escape. Now corralling their way backwards. Kezu meeting Nando. Managed to get off the lasso. Actually stays ahead of the team. quick as the heal and will survive through all of that. Nandu can't even get one kill. Not even the poor little Force Spirit can stop Kezu on his rampage. 19-7, Escape Gaming will finally claim Roshan for themselves after being stopped by Execration time after time, but it's only allowed Escape to build more and more of a lead.
Yeah, if you notice that Abed had the Aghanim Scepter fully completed, but it was on his stack, and that limited so much of their teamfight potential. I think the better idea would have been for him to just continue farm mid, push it out as far as he can, allow Escape to get the jump, because all you have to do is really wait for that Ags. Maybe you can go for a high ground defense. Like, they don't even have the Blink Dagger on the Slardar yet. I think that's pretty crucial because there's no way for them to open up a fight reliably without just two of their heroes going down immediately. And now I think Escape's game plan is pretty simple. You push down this mid lane with this Aegis and the healing ward, and there's not a whole lot that Execration can do just because of the net worth disadvantage.
Would you say little plays like the attempt at the Bane and the Mirana at that bottom lane where Yapsor scouted them out, Fiend's Grip onto Era, they actually might be able to have this kill. The smoke screen stops a lot of that damage, and Era will take a lot from the Meteor, but still manage to get himself away. Armlet toggling himself, keeping himself alive for the time being, blinks back and will be a-okay. But going back to it, would you say that Execration perhaps had overall, big picture, the kind of right ideas to still try and maintain aggression, even if they did get shut down from some team fights, but they just don't quite yet have the tools to do so, like that Blink Dagger from the Slardar?
I think in the laning phase they had the right idea. Like, they made all the moves that they should have. I think the one mistake they made that proved to be really costly is when they decided to TP for that top tower, and they lost Abed in the mid lane. And probably the bigger decision was going for that Roche fight.
Yeah.
Like, they went for the Roshan, which I was okay with, but as soon as Escape kind of committed for it, they had to go back. Instead, they committed the buyback on the Slardar. They lost more heroes on top of that, and that kind of just ruined the rhythm of their game. Because you need this Invoker to just continuously farm more than anything.
Is under attack.
We're really beginning to see the effect of Escape Gaming's lead and also their control of the map. They're being able to push down this tier 2 at the top lane, and if you look at the map, Execration really aren't getting much in return. They're pushing out mid, they're getting a little bit of farm at bottom, but these are all just minor sidestep things that is hoping to be able to delay Escape, but ultimately Escape are the ones in the driver's seat.
I just think Escape right now are playing very well, and Execration is showing that they're still a little bit green, because that was a play where I think you just panicked more than anything.
Yeah.
That's not even so much as bad play as it is a little bit of inexperience. But I think even still, you can look at that first 10 minutes and be very happy.
Yeah.
But this game so far, I mean, this Invoker has to go absolutely insane if they're going to stand a chance. Like, Abed really has to kind of show off what he can do with this Invoker. Because nobody else on his team has a lot of farm.
We're going to put him, as well as the rest of Execration, up to the high ground defense test. See how well they're able to hold against Escape Gaming when Escape choose to take that final step in ending this game number 1 in this series. And whether or not they're rebuffed mid lane, just a small little kick out. Koipa's sitting there, waiting for his opportunity to get the Omni Slash free kill onto Tim's. Blocks him, but has a creep wave coming in, knows that there's not really an opportunity for him to Omni Slash. It isn't worth the risk anyway. Blinks himself backwards and keeps on running. Knows that if he's caught by the Bane, that would be a huge kill for Execration to get a free pick off on Koipa. He's level 16, he's highest in net worth at 13,000, and has a Battle Fury as well as a Yasha in his inventory.
I think you should start connecting to the rest of the team and thinking about just going straight down that bottom lane.
Not worth the risk, right, to be by yourself.
Yeah, at this point, farm doesn't really matter. If you give up a kill like that, you can put Execration just in a good mood more than anything. Because right now, it's going to feel pretty bleak for them.
Yeah.
But picking up a kill like the Jug or the Tiny is really going to set their minds right again. But
you could see Execration. They wanted Koipa. They wanted him real bad. They wanted him to show up in the mid lane next to his tier 2, pushing, or maybe if the top lane, get the free pick off.
They need heroes here sooner.
They're
like way too much damage already.
Hero comes out. Koipa will manage to get the spin out. You can see you can't leave this timing, especially now that he has the Aghanims with the armlet. He's taking the tower down pretty quickly. Koipa will manage to get the fourth down as well as the shallow grave save. He starts backing himself away and will be able to heal himself up.
Dark light.
And Escape, I believe, that they don't need to make a full retreat here. In fact, they can actually go back in a second. Oh, Jesus. Era takes the whole 1-2 punch. And it takes out Kimo, making this defense now a 4 versus 5 for Execration. And Kenzu, he's looking for a second hero. Making the initiation, but the roll-in is already there. They managed to pop Koifa. Now the pushback on Era as well. They might just be able to take out the Sages, but not before Era slays this Slardar. In the background, though, Tims is doing what damage he can to the rest of the back line, making sure there is space for Execration to try and take out Era in round 2. Nando actually ignores that one, blinks forward, and manages to get a double there as he picks up both the Bat Rider as well as the Dazzle. And now they go onto Era with the smoke screen, trying to lead a little bit of space, but it's not quite enough. Execration have done it with a triple kill on Nando. They hold against Escape Gaming, not losing their racks just yet.
What? What just happened?
They did it! You said they were going to be put to the test, Abed especially, but Execration as a whole managed to get the execution, the roll-in, they took out Koifa, they managed to just kite Era in both Life 1 as well as Life number 2, and let's not forget that Tims was the one who created a lot of that space by him rolling into that back line and causing havoc with his damage over time and his disables.
I was going to give him all the credit for that team fight. Yeah. He single-handedly just kept 4 heroes' attention on him at all times. He got every single one of his abilities off. He created this wedge between Era and the rest of his team. And Escape, what they want to do is create this ball where nobody has this blind zone. But Execration did such a good job of splitting them up. You see how far ahead Era is from the rest of his team?
There it is. Tims, that initiation right there. Those 3 heroes unable to do anything as Era's being kited around. And then he did so much damage that Nando actually blinked in and finished off 2 heroes with that. And then once those 2 heroes are gone and they're so low, that's all she wrote. There's no way that Escape can back up from there.
There's no way around it. They just got outplayed right there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that with the amount of farm and that Aegis that Escape had, that Execration should win that team fight, but they just flat out outplayed them. That was very well done by them.
Great start from Execration. The beginning of this comeback for game number 1, this wildcard series. Just now joining us, this is the last series of the wildcard tournament, determining which one of these teams is going to be heading into the international and which one of them will sadly have to say goodbye to. It's 21-11, 31 and a half minutes in, an 8,000 gold lead for Escape. Not so long ago, it was sitting around 12. So that lead has been taken out by a rather large chunk, but there is still a definitive lead for Escape Gaming.
I do think, though, that helps Execration more than anything in terms of morale. It shows them that, yeah, you have to outplay them like crazy, but you can win a team fight.
And it's only going to get easier from here, right? That was the toughest fight, conceivably, that they would have to take, facing up against an Aegis in such a large deficit. Now they've gotten themselves a little bit of time, at least, before Escape go high ground again. Unlikely that this team is going to try and go high ground with a second life in their hands.
This Invoker is just going to continue to stack up farm. His Midas is going to pay off. Escape, though, they still have that gem. That was the huge thing, is that they didn't lose their gem right there. And now they're going to make their move out.
Plus smoke, but Koifa is going to be spotted here. They managed to get the stun, the kick. Oh, a little bit of safe there. The arrow comes in, nails Gap Door, but he managed to get up a smoke screen, but it's not enough. Koifa's down. Arrow with the response, though, goes for Camo, gets him. Gap Door about to die, but gets off his ultimate just in time. And Era is cleaving through heroes left and right, but it may not be enough. Nando stuck inside the trees, trying to make his way out. Will be able to get the lead, but now he's on the cliff. No, Nando, that's not where you want to be. He gets the arrow out. Abed sitting there in the back, not knowing what he can do to save poor Nando. He can't do anything. Nando will fall, throws out the Sunstrike, but doesn't manage to nail Era, who he was really looking for. 1 for 4. It started off so good as they took out Koifa, but Execration, in their attempt at killing that big Juggernaut hero, grouped up a bit too much for Era as he managed to output the physical damage like crazy.
Yeah, they need space to work and a lot of room. They simply just didn't have that in this small cluster. This is where Era was able to just start swinging left, right, and center as so many of these heroes were clumped up. His Aghanims went to absolute work here as Yapstor stayed alive for so long, got that smoke screen off again onto Nando.
I mean, he's
turned that tide.
He's going to get amplified damage hero and just cleaving through them so quickly. I'm not sure how... I don't know, that I'm loving this Armlet Echo Saber Aghanims. His physical damage in those first 2 swings is insane.
And you saw that the Mirana just couldn't keep up in a fight like that.
Forest Ass coming in soon for RR. Said they need a little bit of space and the extra mobility item may help them out. Blinkins for Nando after his Blink and Ags. He's going to have to start making himself a little bit more of a physical damage presence in these fights. The game pushes on much longer. Long range arrow just to be able to scout the Roshan pit, which we know is not going to be up for another minute's time.
They really need to get these two supports. If Execration is going to stand a chance at winning these team fights, if you're able to grab the Riki or the Dazzle, doing so much, especially Synderen with those Graves.
Yeah.
No missteps by him in this game.
Particularly tough now, especially since he has the Diffusal Blade, can't really rely on the silence of Tim's or even the amplified damage of RR to give them that hold on the Absol. He's just able to purge it right off for the tricks of the trade and blink strike himself away afterwards.
KB completed on the Mirana. Big fan of this item on her. I think in terms of physical damage, she does eventually need it, but Nando's in a position where he needs more defensive items.
Yeah.
Because most of your damage is just going to come from staying alive and getting multiple Starstorms off.
Yeah, it's just about being able to blink into the middle of all these heroes. And now he's got the BKB, right? He doesn't have to immediately leap out after he gets a Starstorm. Now he can actually sit in the middle of them and just lay out as much havoc as possible.
All right, here's the rough scenario, is that Execration knows that Roshan is up because of the Horde Spirit, but they don't have any smokes, to my knowledge. And they desperately need to not give up this Roshan. Especially after that last team fight.
How do they make this work? If you can't get the surprise smoke initiation, you've only got Moonlight Shadow to work with. You just, well, it looks like they're just going to run straight at him. Now, Escape are actually doing something quite similar here.
Oh, they're going to wrap. I really like this.
They're fully going to wrap into the secret shop area, and just like that, Execration have given up their high ground advantage, and Escape will be able to find the jump in first, but the Lincoln came in. Ovid not going to be jumped on, but now the combination comes in. Era as well as the Blink in. Koifa managed to get off the Omni Slash, 2 down already, and Escape looking for the cleanup. Tim, he's going to be the target. He managed to get the kick off, but unlikely to get a roll away, just doesn't have the time in the world to be able to get out. Escape, that was an opening for them originally to perhaps take Roshan and an Aegis, but there's no need. Oh, wow, Nando managed to find that one pick off, but Escape, they're like, okay, we lost Koifa, doesn't matter. Era is still the big carry right now, and we still can go high ground here and take ourselves a Rax. Lincoln, Nando looking for some damage, pops the BKB just in time ahead of that avalanche, but hardcore Slardar doesn't stand a chance. Era is just too damn big, too farmed, and will be able to take out the full lane of Rax.
And the Roshan's going to follow shortly after, and Execration, they had to contest that Roshan, but they just don't really have the resources anymore, and they were always going to get jumped on first in a position without smoke. Escape, obviously having the gem and the superior ward advantage.
Arrow, oh god, the TP out sooner!
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
TP's out just ahead of that one. They're going to get a little bit more information. They see Yapzor, nail him with the Sunstrike. So Execration, no, at the very minimum, that Escape aren't able to do Roshan just yet, as we're going to see quite the lead being taken back once again by Escape. 14,000, not rushing the Roshan decision just yet. There's no need to.
I think post 30 minutes, Execration have made very good decisions. Maybe that smoke was a little bit ill-conceived, but for the most part, they know what they have to do to try to contest and win this game. They're just a little bit too far behind right now.
Right.
They're going to have to simply outplay them again like they did in that bottom fight. They don't want to give up this Roshan, more importantly, though.
Well, you said you need to be able to get your hands on one of these supports now. Yapzor, he may finally get picked off after all this time, but he's got a lot of team backing him up. They managed to get the gem. He will be able to almost pop Yapzor, but Synderen comes in just in time with the Child's Grave. And Yapzor goes all out, knows that he's got the ultimate to be able to fall back on. They've taken out the Slardar, and now look on the side for the Bane. Timo, he's going to be spotted out. Tries to go for Yapzor, can't quite get the kill. Nando comes in, will be able to get him with the Starstorm, but it may cost him his life. He pops the BKB, gets tossed up in the air, Train delays advantage, but leap away. Oh, just in time. He had the weave on him and a lot of physical damage, but just shy of being able to take out that very farmed Mirana of Execration. Escape will just bounce themselves back, though. They only lost Yapzor's Riki, and that is not enough to deter them from going from Roshan.
Synderen's decision to go for the Aether Lens, saving Yapzor's life long enough for him to just be a constant nuisance. Now this Roshan, no way that Execration is going to try to defend this.
So So that will be an Aegis going into the hands of who? Maybe Koifa drops his bottle, or Era. No, he drops his armor. So they're still going to pass it over to the Tiny. Makes the most sense. If they're going to go high ground again and they're forced into some sort of siege scenario, Era is obviously the hero you want on the high ground, beating on those towers and having that extra life to fall back on.
Lightning's got to strike twice. Execration, they've got to take out this Juggernaut immediately. They have to create some separation between Era and the rest of his team. But I think if Escape just kind of form this ball and make sure that they're all together at all times, it's very hard for Execration to take a fight.
Yeah, with Synderen in the back, healing them up, he's got the mech, and then you've got the healing ward down. It's really hard for Execration to actually just be able to pop one hero. It was a miracle they did it last time. They were forced into a high ground defense and won. But as you said, Lightning does indeed have to strike twice here for Execration to make the comeback here in game number 1. Escape, though, not getting ahead of themselves, and this seems to be a very common thread with many of the teams, it seemed like, leading into TI. Once they secure themselves that advantage, they don't go high ground immediately. They try and secure a bigger, larger gold lead, wait for some of those next level items that they're waiting on. Not sure what they would be waiting on right now, though. Perhaps just map control, pushing out the lanes.
Yeah, that's definitely what you're going for right now. I think the smart decision for Escape is just to push out this top lane. If Execration overcommit for this and they lose a fight, then that's Mega Creeps, which would probably signal the game anyways.
Yeah.
So Execration really just have one really good shot at this. Like, they have a lot of farm on this Invoker, no Octarine yet, which is where you really start to see this hero snowball, but still in an alright position in terms of items. This Mirana is also very strong. So this might be one of their better opportunities because the Slaughter simply just isn't going to scale into the third core that they need.
So our eyes turning towards our initiators, RR and Tims. Are they going to be able to find that great initiation to cause havoc to the backline of Escape and create some sort of wedge once again?
They need him to do so much again in this team fight.
Yeah. And now it's getting tougher and tougher because now there's a third hero that can really truly make a hard initiation in Koipa with the Blink and Abyssal Blade. You can lock down a hero and go for the full Omni Slash. Quick kill. Execration not going to be able to do much to stop it. Don't really have any kind of saving heroes besides maybe just a Nightmare. 1 second invulnerability is really all they have to play with here. The arrow comes out, does nail Era, not that Execration going to be taking a step outside of their base anytime soon. Only person that's going to be doing that is Abed, as he's just looking to push out the bottom lane, give them a little bit more breathing room, get some farm, while he waits for the inevitable push high ground by Escape. Now the initiation managed to get the stun. Garjo going to try and pop Era from a distance here, laying out all of their nukes, but there is the Shallow Grave and still a lot of HP left on Era, unable to take away that Aegis just yet. And Escape will have a second opportunity at going for that tier 3 while still having the Aegis on Tiny.
There's that heart regen that we were talking about. They're just going to make a go for it again.
Healing wards.
Kezu is in so deep right now.
Puts Era full up to HP. Kezu looks for his initiation. Will be able to find it on the initiator of Tim, and RR misses his slithering crush. Unable to get off the blink because he ran into fire. And now it's a 4 versus 5 for Execration. Tim's down for 45 seconds.
Here's the hero of the last fight. They needed
the stun on 3. That's a big one, but Execration not going to be able to fully follow this one up. No disables to be able to lock down those heroes, and now RR's the one who gets locked down for the Abyssal Blade. Abed makes his way out, knowing that Era is looking for the follow-up, but ooh, a tough time for a pause as Koifa has the disconnect. Just as Nando blinks straight onto Era here. Looks like he's trying to get a quick Starstorm, and then leap himself out, but this is obviously a rough position for Execration to be in no matter what.
Yeah. In terms of cooldowns, Weave was used, the Jug, Missile, and that Omni Slash was used as well, but Arrow, of course, can just continuously fight. He's got that Aegis available to him. Even if they were able to get this first pop kill, not a whole lot that they can do to continue to save this Rax.
Are now trying to give us every incentive not to look at this team fight with his constant spin noise, but we are going to see how it begins. Nando, is he going to be able to make his way out of this one? The quick leap, but puts him in an awkward position. He's going to try and go back in, trying to draw Era away from those Raxes. Pops the BKB, fights Kezu, but Era, realizing that it's all just a distraction, goes for the objectives. He's going to be nailed by the Sunstrike, takes a little bit of cold snap damage as well as the Starstorm. To push forward though, Nando makes a Riki invis as he flies into the sky. Koifa,
that healing ward, they've got to do something about it.
he just can't do anything. Inside the ground, spinning away like a mole, will be able to take away the melee Rax, and that is 2 Raxes down for Execration.
That looks so ridiculous.
Apparently, I think that's what Koifa paused for, but poor observers, as well as ourselves, are going to have to deal with our Juggernaut half-man mole.
It was a good decision, though, to only give up that one set of racks. I'm glad that Execration didn't hard commit to it too much, just because that fight was going to be so difficult with that Aegis on that Tiny. And more importantly, when they lost their 2 initiating heroes off the bat, there was almost nothing that they could do. Yeah. You saw that Nando decided he was going to try to pull heroes away and just create a nuisance and buy as much time and space as possible, which is what he needs to do. Separate the team as much as you possibly can, but they weren't able to find an opening as Escape finally just said, screw this, we're going to ignore you now and just continue to hit your racks and there's nothing you can do about it. That healing ward.
We've seen this a couple times, the Mirana picking up the Ethereal Blade, maxing out that magic damage. Still outputs a good amount of physical damage as well, thanks in part to the agility of Ethereal Blade as well as the amp damage. But this is going to be the fight Execration desperately needs to
Defensive Weaver ready. They can sense this.
Already out. Their smoke pops, and now some of the heroes revealed. Execration. Tim's gonna be the first one jumped on. Slithering Crunch comes in. Tim will be able to get off a couple of abilities before he falls, but Nando's locked in by the Lasso. Plus the Omni Slash. Nando gets the BKB off, tries to go for the pop on Kezu. Not enough damage, and it's poor Abed who lays the victim there as Escape turned towards him as Nando goes that magic invulnerability. Able to TP himself away, but it is very clearly a victory for Escape and probably the last nail in the coffin for Execration here in game number 1.
Yeah, because of that push out top lane, they read that situation perfectly. Cinderin throws down that weave just out of caution onto his own team. They run into each other. There's nothing they can do.
Into arrow, trying to get as much magic damage, but it only brings him down to his liver. It's still not enough. He survives with the Sunstrike, and now Execration are fully committed to kill that hero, and they didn't get him. Backing themselves away, Nando will be able to survive. Abed jumps forward, trying to slow down Era as best as possible, throwing down the EMP as well. Era blinks back, and with Execration, the rest of heroes now reviving in a full 5 versus 5 on the table, Escape are not going to take that risk and back themselves away, waiting for a better opportunity.
Yeah, Escape, they've got a lot to play for, obviously. They win this one, just one game away from getting into TI. So they're going to take things slow. Can't blame them at all. Can probably even wait for the next Roshan if they're worried about this jug being popped.
Koifa runs into Nando here. Still does not have the Omni Slash, nor does he have a quick way to be able to... Oh, Nando! He didn't expect Air to be here as well, and wanted to see. It's popped just like that, 80 seconds, no buyback whatsoever, and Execration, some of the rest of them are still being spotted here. Yapster is going to slow down Tims, will be able to get the smoke screen out, yet another kill potentially. Abed is going to try and get as much damage, but there is the ult coming out from the Riki. Meanwhile, Slithering Crush goes down, trying to stop the Juggernaut. The rest of Escape's gaming. Push forward, knowing that without the Mirana, they're locking a lot of damage, but still, Abed pushes some of them back. Era almost getting caught by the Fiend's grip there of Kimo, but he thinks twice about that one.
Now they're just gonna start this relentless push, trying to go for the mega creeps. They know at this point if the Mirana had buyback, she would have used it by now.
Gonna bid in melee racks with only a little bit of HP left. Tim tries to go for the initiation command to get the Fiend's grip on Aaron, but he got the BKB out first, and Kimo pays with his life for being able to get that light hold in the Tiny, and the rest of the Execration fall. Just like that, ending with Era splitting the info curve in twain. 41-14 is our end score. Very well played by Escape Gaming. You said they played a very clean game. They managed to get the landing phase went well for Execration, but once Escape got that multiple fights around Roshan, they secured themselves the lead. They just kind of grew it over time.
I think the big misstep here that Execration is immediately going to learn from is going for the Roshan and going for that continuous fight was probably the biggest mistake that they were going to make. And as you see on camera, they just look so ecstatic about that win. Hezu